We got people coming in.
We'll go line by line, and if you see something, call it out, okay?
Does anyone want copies of this other?
Do you want to make the comment?
I won't have time, it's 6:30 now. If anyone wants it, I'll make a copy and give it to them after.
I'd like to call a special emergency board meeting to session, please. Can we have a roll call?
Yep. Councilman Galusha?
Yes.
Councilwoman Harris? Councilman Brown?
Yes.
Supervisor Shepler?
Yes.
And Councilman Needham.
Yes.
Let the record show all are present.
Can we please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, thank you everybody for coming out. The reason for the emergency meeting is, there's some discrepancies and, some things that need to be corrected and gone over. And I'd like to read my statement here. It says, "The resolution was as written is not correct. No number was given as the resolution states. The fund balance that Councilman Galusha references is being confused with the operating balance for the town. The town does not receive a lump sum of sales tax revenue at the beginning of the year. It is entirely dependent on the sales produced in the county reflected on their quarterly reports. Should any presidential administration shut down the country, which he has indicated he would do, there will be little to no sales tax revenue. At no time in Thurman's history has the tax revenue for the town been zero. In 2019, taxes raised for the general fund were $50,370. In 2020, the taxes raised for the town were $90,077. Councilman Galusha now wants zero taxes raised for the town. On 12/31/18, the balance in the general fund bank account was $219,856.11. On 12/31/2019, the balance in the general fund bank account was $285,089.21. Out of the $285,089.21, $57,878.77, of which was owed to the highway department, leaving the town's account at $210,44. We currently have $100,376 left in expenses to pay for November and December of 2020, 2020, and we have absolutely no more revenues coming in. Currently, there is $389,645.90 in the general fund. Deduct the anticipated expenses, and we will have $289,269.90 in the general fund account for the end of the year, barring any unforeseen expenses. The $289,269.90 is only $4,180.69 more than the December 31st, 2019 general fund balance. The $4,180.69 does not come close to covering the increase in salaries and benefits, not including any increases in the town from our vendors. By decreasing our operating funds substantially and zeroing our tax revenues is putting the town's existence in jeopardy, with no room for any possible decrease in sales tax revenue receipts. If a shutdown should occur and your projected revenues are not received, this would leave the town without any operating money. In the first 3 months of 2021, approximately $230,895.36 are due in bills by contracts and payroll. Did everybody have a copy of the new sheet, the new budget? The preliminary budget to the far right is the new preliminary budget for 2021 that was voted on last evening. I would just like to know, how do you know we're going to get $375,000 in non-property tax distribution?
We never know how much we're gonna get. It's a projection based on historical data. This year, we've gotten $423,000 in change in the middle of the pandemic.
That is correct.
We've never gotten less than $394,000 in the last several years.
Well, taking into consideration where we're at this point in time, do you really think that it's wise to increase this?
Yeah.
Knowing that the possibility that we could be shutting down and not having any or
Okay,
very
that's a
little?
scare tactic.
No, it's not a
First
scare
of all,
tactic, it's a
Do
possibility.
I get to respond? You made an awful lot of allegations in here. Do I get to respond
Oh,
to
there's a
anything?
lot of facts in here.
No, there's a lot of obfuscation, a lot of smoke and mirrors, and a lot of
No, there's a
BS.
lot of facts,
You
Randy.
conflated so many things in here and
I did
misled
what, I'm
people.
sorry?
You conflated so many different things in here.
Like
I
what?
mean, well, for starters, when you talk about fund balance, you don't talk about just one account. You talk about the whole town.
You
And
talked
for
about the general
starters,
fund and the highway fund, they're two separate funds.
yep, and I calculated the fund balance for both of them. And let me ask you a question. First of all, this monthly report that you gave us at the end of October,
That is correct.
these numbers right?
Yes, they are.
Okay, good. Just so everybody knows, the end of October, in the total of our accounts, we have $873,425.66. I mean, now I know we paid some bills this month.
That is correct, because
But
that
when
is
you
the
take
end of
this-
October, that is not going through November.
When you take this and you follow the comptroller's procedure and you add the projected revenue and you subtract all the projected expenditures, and our projected expenditures from now to the end of the year in the budget is only $144,377 in the general fund. That's all we're projecting.
No, it's not 144. $44,000 is extracted because that is, $45,000 was anticipated in revenue for the occupancy tax.
I'm not
Which
talking
the-
revenue.
Well, I'm
about
talking about,
expenditures, but you
I'm
can
talking
subtract that.
about, that needs to
Yep.
be subtracted.
Good, so we'll subtract that, means we let our projected
Which-
expenditures are actually less than 100,000.
That's $100,376.
Say that again?
$100,376.
From now to the end of the year.
That is correct.
Okay. So the projected total fund balance from now until the end of the year in the general fund, according to the comptroller's procedures of how you calculate it, is $299,331. What you're not accounting for is that we haven't haven't gotten our final sales tax payment.
Yes, we have, we've gotten everything.
How come it doesn't appear in here?
Because it came in November, it will be
Okay,
in the
so,
November
thank you.
report.
Thank you. So what that means is that we have 73,000 more than was projected. So I added that in here because that's gonna become part of our fund balance.
Mhm.
So that means we have a fund balance of 299, 331, just in the general fund. So all this other stuff to scare people about we're gonna go.
I'm not trying to scare anybody.
Well, trying to scare people that we're gonna have tax revenue, sales tax revenue of zero? Or, I
Well,
mean,
you
that we're gonna shut
budgeted
down?
zero for the taxes, for
Oh,
the
okay.
tax revenue. You
Look,
budgeted that.
Okay, so what I did was I budgeted fund balance to cover the revenue we needed in the general fund, and then taxes for the revenue we needed in the highway fund.
What
Well,
taxes?
hold on, let me finish. We could have split that up. We could have put some fund balance to the highway and made some tax revenue for the general fund. Would it have made any difference in the end?
Yes, because you can't, the highway is the highway department, the general fund is the general fund, all right?
Then you had an opportunity to make that comment before we adopted it. I gave you the budget a week and a half ago.
And what did I tell you? I was working on the other budget, which is the one that has been approved by the board.
You told me you were gonna put it into your
I
format,
was
that's what
going
I
to
asked
try
you to
and
do.
do that, that is
Yep,
correct.
You
and I
agreed to
didn't
do
it.
that, and we were gonna meet, and we were gonna go over it. So quite honestly, your concerns now fall just a little bit hollow.
No, they don't. No, they don't. They're very real.
Yeah, and you had an opportunity to.
And I am expressing my opportunity, and we have the opportunity to write that this evening.
So if you wanna change some fund balance appropriation to highway and some tax revenue to general fund, I have no problem with that. It's gonna come out in the wash anyhow. All you're doing is moving money from one column to the other, the budget's still the same.
No, it's not. It is not.
If you take 50,000 fund balance
Because the other
appropriation.
thing is you put the $98,000 in the incorrect spot. I called the state comptroller's office, they told me where to put that. And also the offset of the 73,000, that had to be listed here in the budget.
Which 73,000?
$74,796. It had, on page 5, it had.
And I asked you to put it in the format that we use for the budget. That's why that didn't get done.
Why couldn't you do it? This is your budget, not
I
mine.
don't have that format on my computer. You have it.
Darn near close. But the point of the matter is the appropriations fund balance is on page 5. That is the comptroller's numbers, and I was told where to place it, because I asked explicitly, because I didn't want there to be any issues. Page 7, the appropriated revenue is given me a VA 511N, and that is where it is, and it is deducted
I'm
here.
sorry, you went from the fund balance to what? I'm sorry.
No, I went from the appropriated fund balance in the general fund, page 5.
Yes, I got that. That's
And
fine.
that's there, and that is reducing down from the 537,825 to the $462,029. Then on page 7,
Why wouldn't that be included in revenue? Why is that included in?
it's not a
appropriation?
revenue, you're using it to reduce your,
Okay, if that's what the comptroller told you.
that's what I was told, and I asked her explicitly where to put it. And the same with the reserve. That has to go, right before the estimated appropriations to reduce your estimated appropriations. Now, the other thing,
While you're thinking, I just caught on television says that the new president is not going to have any shutdowns.
and thank you for sharing that, that's the first I've heard.
You're
That's a
welcome.
relief. That is a relief, really.
It is.
In the general fund, just so you know, to be raised in taxes is 0. Next year, to be raised in taxes is against 0, which would be 0 again.
What are you talking about?
On your
What are you talking about next year?
summary, on your 2022. if you leave the towns to be raising taxes at 0,
Mhm.
and you wanna raise taxes next year, you have to base it on a 0 from this year.
The tax cap limit is based on the total taxes, not just general fund. They do not
You
separate
have-
them out.
yes,
They
they
don't
do.
no, they don't,
Yes,
Susan.
they do.
They do not. It's the total tax revenue raised in the town. It is not just general fund or
Then
other.
how
They do
come
not
they're
split it.
separated in your summary page and in any
For
summary
people's
page?
information, but it's not, that's the calculation, when you go through the table on the comptroller's website, and you plug the numbers in, there is not a spot that says general fund and a spot that says highway. It's total tax revenue raised,
No, it's
period.
not. I mean, you're raising $636,434 in the highway. That is not in the general fund.
For the tax cap limit calculation, it doesn't matter.
It does matter.
No, it doesn't.
Randy, you can't raise taxes in the highway and use that for the, general fund.
Nobody is.
Well, you're saying it's one number, and it's not. Each,
For the purposes of calculating your tax cap limit,
fine.
there is one number that goes into that calculation. It's the total tax revenue raised. They do not differentiate between general fund and highway. I've done it numerous times.
So when you go to raise taxes next year for the general fund, what are you gonna base it on?
The total tax revenue. It doesn't matter for the
It does
general
matter.
fund.
It does matter, because the general fund has its own rate, tax rate, as well as
Okay.
the highway fund
Look,
has its own rate, as well
Just
as the
because
fire
you keep saying it, you
department
can
has
say it
its
10
own.
times, it's not gonna become true.
Fine, Randy, I'm gonna tell you straight up, this is the bottom line, this is factual, I'm sorry if you don't agree with it. You don't raise taxes for the general fund, and we're gonna possibly be in a very serious position. And not a
That's-
scare tactic, this is a fact.
That's not
Because
true.
we have bills that have to be paid between January 1 and March 1. And sometimes our monies does not come in from the county until March. So if you can't support your bills, your payroll, and your other responsibilities with what you've got in a, fund balance, as you're calling it, or a operating balance, you're gonna have to shut down.
No, we're not gonna shut down. That's a scare tactic.
No, that is a fact.
I'll give you actual numbers. So as of, where is it, right here? The 2019 fund balance, if you take the $285,089.21 that we had in our bank accounts on December 31st in the general fund, and you subtract out the vouchers which you attributed to 2019 expenses.
Which, by the
Hold
way,
on, hold on.
you've misinterpreted, what we paid in 2019. We never overpaid any of our employees. That was 2020 that we were paying that.
You gave me a state, you're getting sidetracked, I'll
No,
talk about that in just a
that's
minute,
fine.
okay? So if you take that 285,000 and you subtract the outstanding vouchers that were attributed to 2019 but paid in 2020, you end up with a 2019 fund balance of $267,297.76. Now, you
Don't
can,
forget
you
to
can,
move
you
the
can argue about the
57,000.
57,000 that went to the highway.
Yep,
All that does, if that's true, all that would do is decrease this fund balance and increase the highway fund balance. That money didn't go anyplace.
it went to the highway.
Yeah, so it increased their fund balance. It's still part of our total fund balance in the town.
That's fine, but the highway department has its own set of bills and responsibilities and payroll. And the general fund has its own set of bills and responsibilities and payroll. My concern is you did not factor in the increases
What do you mean
into
didn't
your,
factor in?
into your worksheet here. I took your numbers as they were approved. You didn't factor in the increases at the highway department.
Yes, we did. Yes, they were included.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay,
The budget balance is, you have enough revenues to cover the appropriations, that's all that matters.
you have to cover any of the appropriations, including your payrolls.
Yep,
And
it
your,
does.
and your responsibilities for insurances and so forth. and
I
so
will
on.
bring one small, error that we made last meeting that I don't think anybody's caught yet, but I realized it, today, is that the 2% increase that we gave to the Meals on Wheels driver, that was an increase in our appropriation of $130. We
Mhm.
did not increase our revenue $130 to make our budget balance, so we need to do that. That's the
Well-
only, that's the only mistake.
Why would you increase your revenues?
Because you increase your appropriations, you have to increase your revenues in order to balance, or else you have to transfer it from some other fund. You have to reduce some other fund in order to keep your budget in balance.
So you're gonna artificially inflate something to cover $130.
No, I'm not artificially inflating anything. I bring it to your attention an error we made because we increased an appropriation without commensurate increase in the revenue. So we have a choice. We can either increase the revenue, or we can take and decrease some other code.
Well, I'm not decreasing any other codes.
We're only
But what
talking about
revenue
$130.
code-
Not gonna break
What
it down.
revenue code are you looking at increasing?
I haven't even thought about it, to be honest with you. I just realized it today.
That's artificially inflating.
There's nothing artificial about it. It's just like any other appropriation. You have to include revenue to cover it.
All right. Shall we go over this line by line?
Well, no, actually, I want to address some, because you made a whole bunch of allegations in here that really just
No,
aren't
I
true.
stated some facts, Randy. You're entitled to your opinion.
And you're entitled to hear yours, so let him
And
have
that's
his
right.
now.
So, I mean, I don't even know where to begin with some of this. I mean, look, I get your point about using all fund balance on the general fund side. I get that, okay? I don't deny that's a valid concern. If we wanna adjust that, I have no problem with that. So we'll take some fund balance and apply it to the highway, and we'll increase the tax revenue on that side. That's a legitimate concern if you honestly believe we're gonna have a cash flow problem. I don't
do
see,
believe we are.
I don't see how we're going to when we have a projected fund balance, let me get on the right page here. Projected fund balance of almost $300,000 at the end of the year. I have a hard time believing we're gonna have a cash flow problem.
Well, the first 3 months of 2021, approximately $230,895.36 are due in bills, contracts, and payroll.
And keep in mind that 74,000 that you're projecting to use in.
I didn't project.
No,
You did.
okay, I'm sorry, poor choice of words. The 74,000 I'm projecting to use in fund balance, there isn't a time, I mean, it's not like you have to spend that fund balance at the beginning of the year. That can be any time during the year, you don't necessarily have to use it right away.
Well,
But what I'm saying is, you do have fund balance sufficient to cover those expenses.
the $74,796.
I think we're getting just sidetracked with a whole lot of things that,
I'm just very concerned that we have sufficient funds to run the town, the general fund side with, and not have to worry about running out of money. Because if we run out of money, we
Fine.
can't borrow it from the highway.
then how much are you suggesting we adjust, because we've already approved the budget using 74,000 in fund balance. So now we're really just talking about whether we use it out of highway or whether we use it out of, but the problem is if we take it out of highway, then that's taking away a fund balance that could be used in the future for a truck or something.
That is absolutely right. You can't take it from the highway to offset the general fund side. The
Then we
general
stop with
fund
what we
has
got.
to, so then why don't we do a nominal sum on an increase of taxes then to offset?
We've already adopted this budget with no tax
This
increase.
is here, we can change it, and we can include the taxes. Yes, we can, we have until tomorrow, Susan, that is per the calendar.
I was just finishing the minutes from the 26th, and I cannot count the number of times that you said, once you vote on this budget and adopt it, no changes can be made, no further changes can be
Well,
made.
according to the
You said that a
comptroller's
dozen times.
According to the comptroller's office, because we were meeting tonight, we can change the whole thing if we wanted to, just so it's ready to be presented tomorrow. So we can do it.
I can tell you right now, I'm not voting to raise tax revenue.
We have absolutely none. Well, you're doing it on the highway side, why can't you do it on the general fund side? What do you have against raising some taxes on the general fund side?
Because in order to raise the taxes on the general fund side, you're gonna have to reduce the amount of fund balance that you use. In order to stay at the tax rate that I computed, that means you'd have to have the flip side on the highway, and that's gonna cut into the fund balance. And the fund balance on the highway, the projected fund balance at the end of the year is actually $135,435, based on your last operating report from October. Yeah. So I don't think, that number's not that big. I don't know that we should be cutting into it.
It's not that big on the general side either.
It's $300,000.
And I've gone through the list of the anticipated expenses that need to be paid between by January 1, before March 31st.
According to our budget, projected expenditures, $144,000. You can take
No,
it.
that's this year. It's 100,000, not 144,000. The
Right.
44,000 has to come out of that equation. Because it's only $30,000, not $45,000 for occupancy tax. And I explained that to the board earlier on.
Yeah, I get that.
And that would be a.
That's actually a wash because it's included in your projected revenue and in your projected expenditures. So you're putting it in one place and taking it out someplace else, so it actually doesn't affect the bottom line.
That money cannot be used to pay bills.
I understand that, but what I'm telling you is it's a wash. It's included in projected revenue, and it's included as a projected expenditure, so you're adding $45,000 in one place and taking it out in another. So it actually does not affect the bottom line of the projected total fund balance. So the total projected fund balance still remains at $299,000. And that's after paying this year's expenses, projected expenditures. And at the end of this year, you're still gonna have almost $300,000 sitting in the bank. I don't know how that's not gonna get you through January.
Well, you're taking 74,000 plus almost 75,000 out.
That's part of this balance, and it will get spent through the year. It's not gonna come out on January 1.
It may have to.
If it does, you got $300,000 to take it out of.
I don't think that that's the amount of money that's going to be in there, Randy, as I stated.
What, between now and December 31st, what other expenditure are we facing that is not included in that projected expenditures in our budget?
I'm not sure anything can pop up.
Sure can, that's why we carry a fund balance in case we have some emergency.
I
We
understand
got
that, but you're
300,000.
planning on operating next year, 2021, on the operating balance.
No.
There's no taxes being collected, and we don't know what we're getting in for revenues from the county.
Road superintendent has a question.
Pat?
The highway, revenue for highway fair, the number you have here, does that include highway payroll? Your expenditures at the final 3 months of 2020, approximately 230,000, 9,536 are due to bills, contracts, and payroll. Does that include highway payroll?
That is, yeah, payroll is, 32,893.63.
Okay, but highway comes out of taxation, not sales tax revenue.
Oh, you don't get sales tax revenue.
I know, but I'm
Right.
saying our payroll, highway payroll comes out of taxing the people
Right,
who
I
pay the taxes
understand that.
January 1.
Yeah,
So if there's no sales tax that's been, I just
So
don't
does
see how
mine.
that affects highway payroll. You know what I'm saying?
it's not affecting highway payroll, it's affecting the general fund payroll.
It
And the
should,
general fund,
yeah, but you
as
just
a
said
whole.
highway payroll was included in your figure.
that isn't, the $32,893.63 is what is left for payroll for this year. Total
Yes, I
payroll for
understand
this
that,
year.
but you're saying in 2021,
This is,
you're not gonna receive no money from the county for sales tax revenue until March, that's right?
well, yes, it usually comes in the very end of February, the beginning of March.
Oh.
You get one in January, you get fourth.
No, we
quarter.
don't. We don't get it in January.
But I'm just saying, if highway payroll should not be included in that figure, because our payroll comes from direct taxation, not sales tax.
I understand that, and I think there's some confusion. This number here that I just said, the 32,893.63, has nothing to do with next year. This is total expenditures
I don't understand.
across the board for bills, for contracts, and total payrolls that we have left to pay for this year, okay? It's not for next year, it's just for this year.
Yeah, but it says for 2021, the first 3 months of 2021, so the new budget starts January 1, 2021.
Yes,
Okay, so first 3 months, that's January, February, March. It says approximately 230,000. But since highway revenue is raised through taxation, property taxes, that money should be coming in. And that amount, I mean, I'm thinking should cover payroll, when they'll have to worry about what comes in sales
this
tax
is the
revenue.
general fund, not the highway.
But you're talking about highway here. You're saying,
In the first 3 months of 2021, approximately 230,895.36 are due in bills, contracts, and payroll.
and does that payroll include highway?
No, this is general fund.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought you said it included.
No. Thank you. I hope nobody else had that confused either. The other thing that is a major concern is you have reduced the buildings, A1620.4, by $10,000. I'm not sure why that was done. The fuel for this building, the gas for this building in the Harris House, the mats, the cleaning, the electricity, StoreTech,
Yeah, in my
and we will
opinion,
be
we should,
taking the,
in my opinion, we should terminate Storeback. I said that
well,
all along.
I've got
Let's
your
stick to
opinion,
that.
and I have been advised to do the contrary, to maintain them and keep them going. The other thing that's going to come out of buildings this year is the nominal sum that we have to pay every year to maintain our accounting system. So, I mean, to reduce it $10,000, when in fact, we had just increased it so that we could cover the cleaning services, doesn't make a lot of sense. I would like to see that increase.
Put that back to where it was.
Yes, that would be, yes. That is A1620.4 is the budget code.
How are we gonna do this? We gonna vote on it, or what are we gonna do?
Well, I think we need to go through line by line to see if there's any adjustments that need to be made, and then make them, and then vote on the budget at the end, but it takes 3 board members to make a change, not just 1, 3.
We'll start right with that one then.
All right, buildings, 1620.4. I would like to see it put back up to $46,000. Page 3.
Where are you gonna get the revenue from?
I don't know, where are we gonna get the revenue from?
Well, I'm opposed to doing it.
Well, you're one that's opposed. Do I have any discussion on it?
What's being proposed, or we have to discuss?
Page 3, buildings, budget code 1620.4. It was reduced by $10,000. I would like to see it put back to $46,000. There's a lot of bills that are paid out of that, besides store tech.
Does that cover the highway buildings too?
No, that, the highway buildings, it has garage.
Okay.
What other bills is paid on?
We pay electricity, we pay the
Well, that's-
street light,
that's just
we
the
pay the
state.
street light, we pay the street light also. We pay, for the mats, for the cleaning service. We pay for the gas for the Harris House, the gas for here, the heating fuel for here.
Gas for the landfill?
Um,
All that come out?
yes, all that comes out of
All your
that
phones,
too.
your power, everything out there?
Yep, yep. Store tech is paid for out of there, and this year I want to put the, every year there's a
Next
number.
year, should we pick up some extra 10, 11,000 after our white space is gone, where we're not paying that 900 and something a month?
That, we don't even see that, because that was money that we had, it's not gonna be there.
Well, we're gonna be there if we're not gonna pay that.
Well, it was impartial, it was, monies that were collected by the people. We never managed to meet that much money, but it was, offset, the expenses were offset by the town, yes. That was in the enterprise fund, which is not here now.
Why do we keep heating that over there?
Heating, that's a good question, I
Why do
had
we have-
wanted to
I
try and
mean,
bring the pipes and
If
turn
we
it
use
off.
it, I can see it, but we're heating it and no one's using it.
I agree.
When you're out the window, no risk.
Well, I just, I'm just asking because I
I
see it.
don't know why, I would like to see the pipes drained and it winterized.
That
and the
will cut the
heat turned on.
expenses, so I can see where we can cut some expenses on a lot of this stuff. There's really no, I mean, if they're using it, yes, heat it.
I don't think we could cut $10,000, can we?
Not 10,000.
Well, every bit helps, so.
So, do I have anybody willing to make the motion or to put $10,000? Or is anybody in agreement to put back the $10,000 on the buildings?
Yes.
Doug is? Ed, are you?
No.
No? Joan?
No.
Randy?
Already on record.
I'm sorry?
I said I'm already on record, no.
All right, so then we're gonna leave that at $36,000.
I think this has been discussed back and forth, and already it's been approved.
But you know what?
Majority, I know, majority voted on the budget, that was well explained.
Yeah, but the
And
majority voted on
consequently, the only
Michelle.
thing coming back is what you think should be there, and that's only an opinion, and there isn't lots, you haven't proven your point.
I haven't. All right, fine, thank you.
Either haven't proven the point, or haven't fine tuned it.
Well, I think my little statement was pretty accurate and on target.
Well, you would, because you wrote it, but that's
And I
beside
did
the point.
Maybe if you came upstairs and reviewed some stuff stuff once in a while, you have a greater understanding of it.
I have been working for the town of Thornton for 51 years, and I have an understanding of what's going on these budgets.
Thank
And
you.
I've been on this board for over 4 years,
Yes.
so I understand. And I understand when somebody is trying to have the books.
Had the books, thank you, Joan.
Well, it's better than cooking them, as Gail said.
I've never cooked the books.
I didn't say she did, I just said that was a comment she had.
All right, is there anybody who wants to make any additional changes to this budget? I would still like to see and know why, or how do you know that we're gonna have the increase of 25,000 on the non-property tax distribution, and how we're gonna have an increase of $1,000 in the revenue on refuge and garbage charges.
Nobody knows what the future is.
That's right, so why don't we play it safe?
It looks like this is safe.
It's an increase.
No, you don't have to increase it. I think that
Well, it
we've got
was
enough
increased.
finalizing it, enough figuring it. People who are in the know, there's probably 3 or 4 people on the outside of this board that's been working on it, even with your help. I mean, you have been helping me do it. And this is what they came up with, and we voted on it, and it passed. 3 of us said yes, and now we're still arguing on it. This is getting to be silly.
Well, I don't think it's silly, Joan. The
I
concern
don't
here
know. Well,
is-
I do, because I don't have to agree with you, and you don't have to agree with me, but that's what I'm just thinking. I think it's silly.
That's fine.
Let's just settle this thing, because it's been 7 or 8 meetings we've come to, and we've come out with nothing.
Well, we had 2 approved preliminary budgets. Joan. So we did come out of here with something. We had 2 approved preliminary budgets.
I do have a question. So, what you gave us here tonight, this 2021 budget,
Yeah,
okay, this one,
yes,
on the right where it says preliminary 2021,
yes.
which actually should say adopted because we actually voted.
Well,
to pass
no,
it.
it was an approved preliminary budget because it was
Okay,
this
Samantha.
budget was never
Okay.
approved.
So these numbers reflect the budget that I proposed on November 12th.
That's correct.
Okay,
The only thing is the appropriations, the reserve, the 98,249 has been placed in a different location, and so is the 74,000.
okay, but somehow your tax rate came up to $4.37, where mine was $4.29.23.
Hold on. $3.9 plus 0.47. $4.37%. Because you know why, Randy? Because we had to move the $98,000 from the revenue. That affected it. Because you had the
That
$98,000.
98,000 never came into the calculation at all on the tax rate. Tax rate's only based on the taxes you're raising. It has nothing to do with the excess levy that was included.
Well, according to the comptroller's office, when I told them where it had been placed by you in your budget, I was told point blank that that was incorrect.
I get
And
that.
that it had to be moved to where we moved it
Not
to.
arguing with that.
It affected the overall numbers. Because, originally, your estimated appropriations were $1,188,696. You have to deduct from that the $98,249.
Okay.
Which brings you to $1,090,447. That's the difference.
Okay. Can we just do a little math exercise here, just humor me for a minute? Using your table, okay? You take to be raised in taxes on the highway fund, divide by 166,509.943, because we're doing per thousand, I come up with $3.82, whereas you somehow came up with $3.90. And if you add that,
Where do you come up with, I'm sorry?
$3.82.22, actually, $3.82.22. If you add that to the 0.47, you come up with $4.29, which is what I had. I do not know how you got to $3.90 and ended up with a tax rate of $4.37.
It's 429 is what you're saying?
429.22 was to carry it out 4 places, which, I mean, for information purposes, I know we only go to cents, but when you're actually calculating it for the thing, I think they carry it 4 places.
2.
However they ask you to report it, that's fine. Somehow, it appears that that $3.90 would be in there.
So what are you saying?
The tax rate should be $4.29.
So it should be what we voted on
Yes.
and passed. And what are you saying?
In all actuality, you vote on the budget, the tax rate is calculated later, not actually voting on the tax rate.
No, we're not. But the summary is what's produced at this point in time for all to see.
So
So if we make no changes from what we voted on,
we do need to make that one minor change to $130, because technically we do not have a balanced budget, and we need to
No,
figure out
no.
how to resolve that. But that's the only thing that we have to change. Anything else we change is because we elect to do so.
Again, I am for putting in a tax, be raising taxes on the general fund. I don't think that the general fund will sustain it without it. And if I'm wrong, I will admit it. But I'm telling you, I'm quite concerned that we're not gonna be able to sustain our general fund.
I gave you this budget, I asked you to look at it, I asked you to go through and crunch the numbers.
And I did that,
You know,
Randy.
you had a week and a half and you
Doesn't
did.
matter how much time I had, I did it, and that's why I called the emergency meeting. We have until tomorrow to get this in. We can change it all tonight if we want to.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, I make a proposal that we accept the original preliminary budget that was adopted by the board.
You make the proposal, or you make the
I
motion?
made that a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Can I have a roll call vote, please?
which one? The preliminary?
The preliminary budget that was,
We've already budgeted.
She, not the one that, not Randy
You
says
said it
passed.
couldn't be
She's
changed.
asking to
It
make
sure
it,
can
she's
be
asking to
changed.
go back to
You
her
keep on
budget.
saying,
Mary-
once it's voted in, it can't be changed.
Mary, I had a long discussion today.
It doesn't matter, you
Oh,
just
it
kept on
does.
saying, it cannot be changed.
Thank you for.
And we can't believe what you say, we
Well,
thought you
I'm
said too many times
sorry.
a liar.
You need to curb your tongue.
It's the truth.
So how are you gonna change what we have to do?
We have a motion and we have a
There's a motion
second
on the floor
Wait a
and
minute.
a second. Wait a minute, let me explain what's going on. There's a motion on the floor and a second by Supervisor Shepler to adopt the first preliminary budget, which is the budget that she brought forward, not Randy's budget,
That's
that you passed.
That is correct.
And do you wanna, any more discussion? I don't think we need any discussion. Do you want a roll call vote at this point?
I think some discussion. So what we're voting on is what she proposed instead of what Randy come up with.
It's what I proposed and what the board originally passed from a tentative state to a preliminary state, yes. The board voted on this budget, and they voted to
But we
approve
put
it.
changes in it since.
Yes, and the changes were made in there.
And they were voted and approved.
Yes, they were. And the increases were put in there.
She
to
wants to
account for-
invalidate the vote that we made to
Excuse me?
adopt, she wants to invalidate the vote that we made to adopt the
And we
proposed
can do
budget that
that.
I made, and then revert back to the revised preliminary budget, which she proposed.
And we can do that.
Yes, we
have-
can.
Yes, and yes,
Yep,
Absolutely
okay,
right.
fine. So, we need to vote.
and that one was including taxes to be raised of 2.25%, which would sustain the general fund. Any further discussion? Doug, do you have any discussion?
No.
No? Joan, do you have any further discussion?
Not yet.
Randy, do you have any further discussion? May we please have a roll call vote?
Supervisor Shepler,
Yes.
Councilman Needham,
Yes.
Councilman Galusha,
No.
Councilwoman Harris,
No,
Councilman Brown,
No.
So it failed, thank you. So now we're back to the other preliminary budget, which was voted on at the last meeting and approved. Are you willing to concede to make any additional changes to reduce the revenues?
no, I'm not.
I make a resolution that we increase the amount of fund balance that we use by $130 to make the budget balance to cover the expenditure that we made in the amendment to cover the Meals on Wheels pay increase of 2%.
Let me understand, so the $74,796, you want to increase by $130.
What code is that?
Page 5, appropriation fund balance 8599, and it's in Nancy.
I have a question for Joan. Joan, are you gonna be getting historian pay?
I can't understand.
Are you gonna be getting historian pay
Am I gonna take the historian pay?
for next year, for 2021?
No.
Because that number's in that budget for 500, and you could just take it out of there for the 130.
You certainly
Yeah.
could. Thank you, Deb.
No, I
Instead-
can't, it's not ethical.
No, no.
No, no, no.
What she's suggesting is we have budgeted $500 for you to cover the $130 that we did for Meals on Wheels. We could reduce that $500 down to $370 and
That's a
put
good
the
idea.
100, and that way that would take care of the $130 that we,
So we're not taking it out of the appropriation fund. Would you like to rescind what you just said and change it to, take the 130 from the 500 from the historians, making it $370?
which page, I'm sorry.
Page 5, the historian is right up there at the top, and the appropriation fund balance is down at the bottom.
So I withdraw the resolution that I just proposed,
Two,
okay?
even on my word, that I'm not gonna take it next week.
You got that, Susan?
I'm sorry,
Okay.
Even on my.
it hadn't been seconded yet, so it wasn't going anywhere.
you're paying, you're not gonna be able to take it? Okay.
Still be here, we
All right.
can take that off.
I can't, there's a legal
Right,
attachment to that,
exactly,
so,
if we can put it into the budget.
yeah, I don't wanna touch that at this point in time because I have to get, legal, because, by law, you have to receive it. Now, whether or not you choose to take it or not, once you receive it, or you can return it is a different thing. I wanna find out exactly how that has to be handled.
We will.
Thank you. Thank
I
you
just
for
wanted to bring
suggesting
it
it.
up because I haven't seen you and.
Yep, I know.
suppose,
Thank you.
There's some money,
Thank you.
you know, and it'll.
But we can't do that in the
Right,
budget,
okay,
correct?
that's fine. But it'll show up.
Yep. So what we're looking to do, Randy, if I understand this correctly, is to reduce the historian A 7510.1 to $370,
Correct.
to augment the $130.
Yes.
All right, did you want to read?
So I withdrew my prior resolution.
Thank you.
That's on page 5.
I'd like to make a motion that we reduce the historian pay code A 7510.1 by $130 to a figure of $370.
All right. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
You want to do a roll call vote?
On page 6, the equipment, called DA 5130.2, you reduced that by $20,000. That's tax equipment fund.
Yes, that was reduced. On,
That goes toward the truck, right?
machinery, yep.
Guess we won't get in the truck. $50,000.
Okay, you ready for a roll call vote? Councilman Galusha?
Yes.
Councilwoman Harris?
Yes.
Supervisor Shepler?
Yes.
Councilman Needham?
Yes.
Councilman Brown?
Yes.
So did you want to discuss the machinery code on page 6, the DA 5130.2?
Well, should we bring that back up, or, I guess, money we're taking away from Pat, right?
What do you think? What do you think?
You can't,
We spent all night talking to people in the audience. Now I do it and you're gonna stop me?
no, it's not what he thinks, it's what you changed. So why did you change it?
Because that was the number that was provided by me, to me.
Not by Pat.
Can I ask a question? I mean, do we think it needs to be increased back to what it was? Just so you know, okay, so what we're
I
talking
don't have
about.
it in front of me, I don't know what the.
What code?
So-
It's the
The machinery-
machinery code for equipment, it's DA 5130.2.
It was, in the preliminary budget, $70,387,
What page do you want?
page 6. And we reduced it to 50,000. And then, in addition to that, you have highway equipment and capital outlay, which is DA 5197.2 is 100,000. So between the two of them, there's 150,000 in there.
50,000?
Yeah,
Isn't there another code for equipment on there? Machinery?
That is the machinery code that he's referencing.
there is one under machinery and there's one under highway equipment and capital outlay.
You have 100,000 for capital outlay, and have 50,000 for equipment.
So if we increase that number, we have to increase the revenues raised, or we have to reduce some other code in the highway side.
I don't know what we can afford to reduce on the highway side, because Pat's pretty much came across with everything.
I'm not making an argument either way, I'm just saying that's our options.
There's not enough in it to reduce anything. Oh, and the unemployment insurance, why did you put that at zero, may I ask?
I don't think the 27 is gonna make a difference as far as buying a vehicle.
Okay. So we don't need to change that. We talked about that before, I mean, that was a number that was given to me.
Zero?
That only comes into effect if we lay somebody off, right?
The, hold on. Let me put my fingers on everything. The unemployment insurance, you have to maintain that, and we owe on that this year currently. We have people that are receiving unemployment insurance that have been receiving it for quite some time.
Right now.
Yes, you can't make that a zero.
You should have pointed that out before we adopted it.
Well, I think I did mention it.
But the night we voted on it, we could have addressed that.
Well, I'm addressing it now, so we need to do something about the
I mean,
unemployment.
we're only, hold on. I mean, in the past, it's only been $1,000 or $2,000.
2,000, yeah.
Okay.
We unfortunately had a great deal of people claiming unemployment this year.
No, actually, it was only 1,000 in 2019 and in 2020.
But the initial preliminary budget, it was passed at 2,000.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, we've had quite a few people claiming unemployment insurance this year.
Well, according to this,
In the highway?
we have zero we spent this year on unemployment in the highway.
Oh, that's not a true statement.
That's your monthly report.
I'm just telling you, we have had people in the highway department who have claimed unemployment.
Who?
I'm not going into names.
There's nobody,
Well, then,
I'm not trying to,
I'm not saying,
if you,
I can't say anything in public.
Oh, I think I have an idea.
if you have, it's been coded improperly, because right here, you charge zero to that code this year.
Fine, I'm just telling you, it's come across our table. And I will look into that being appropriate so that,
Didn't you also say that the retirement's going up 10%?
yes, it is.
We increased retirement, I believe.
You decreased it $2,000. We originally budgeted at 57 and you reduced it to 55. Social Security you also have reduced, which I'm concerned about because with the increases in pay, you have to increase your Social Security. That's just common sense.
Well, if you've got unemployment insurance, how come it's not on the sheet that you paid, that you paid? I don't need names, I just say figures.
I will find that out, and I stated I would find that out. I'll look into that.
I don't have the information with me of what was actually spent on retirement for the past few years, but
I think it should be left just like it is, because we don't have any
Now, the state
documentation.
retirement is going up 10%, and that has been very public. It's been in the papers, it's been in the news.
I think these will cover it.
And what if it doesn't?
I think we should leave it saying, because it's not documented on why.
I mean, we're talking
Joan,
1,000
contact
or
the
2.
retirement system and ask them yourself.
Excuse me?
If you don't believe me, contact the retirement system, it is going up 10%. And that's also from the comptroller's office.
So unemployment insurance going up 10%, we haven't paid
State
anything.
retirement.
We're
State,
talking about
you
unemployment.
you said retirement, state retirement is going up 10%.
I was not talking about state retirement. Didn't come out of my mouth.
I mean, we're talking about $1.7 million budget, and we're sitting here haggling over 1,000 here, 1,000 there. I mean, if we
Yeah.
need to move money from one code to another in the future, I mean, that's common, we'll do that next year if we have to.
If there's any money in any of the codes left over.
I know, we're going broke.
We've been moving money all year.
No, we've not.
It's been hopping around, it's hard to catch up with it.
No.
I mean, I remember when we were told that we were broke at the beginning of the year, and we had $285,000 in our bank account.
We've been very frugal in our expenses this year, even
No,
though highway
no,
has been extremely.
That's
frugal.
not true. We've spent money unnecessarily for things that were not budgeted.
That were necessary and should have been budgeted.
Make that argument.
All right, so do we have any further discussion on this budget? Currently, we are not increasing the state retirement, we're not increasing the, Social Security, we're not increasing, and this is, we're not, putting back the unemployment insurance. Randy wants to leave that at 0. And the workers' comp, you reduced also. I'm not sure why you would do that.
So the only changes we made is from the
100
Meals on Wheels,
Yep,
and we took it from the historian.
yes, that is
That's the
correct.
only changes.
That is correct. Is there any further discussion in regards to this preliminary budget? Doug? Ed? Joan? Randy? Are you ready for a roll call vote?
For what?
Because we have to pass it, we've made changes.
Okay.
Okay, a roll call vote. Supervisor Shepler,
No.
Councilman Needham,
Abstain.
Councilman Galusha,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harris,
Yes.
Councilman Brown.
Yes.
Passed. All right, so then it's in the preliminary stage. Do you want to move it into the adopted budget?
We've already done it, yeah.
I thought we just adopted what the modifications we
To
made.
the preliminary budget.
Hold it, we have,
No, we did that,
we had a resolution to modify it, we did that, and we just voted to adopt it.
correct.
As a preliminary budget with the changes that you had made. So now we need to move it into the adopted budget if you want to. Or you can leave it as the preliminary budget. It makes no difference to me.
This last vote was on the adopted budget, was to,
We just adopted the budget we modified.
We adopted the preliminary budget.
no.
Yes.
We're gonna go down the suit. You voted on.
We had an adopted budget from last meeting. We just modified
Well,
it.
you had a preliminary budget because
No,
before
that was the
that,
adopted budget.
it was a revised budget. It went from the revised preliminary budget to preliminary budget, which is what is being presented here. We just made changes to this preliminary budget. So I do believe you have to now move
Let
it
me ask you
into
this,
adopted.
if we hadn't shown up tonight, that budget that we did last night,
Would have been a preliminary budget going
No.
forward.
no, would have been the adopted budget.
No,
It was we voted to adopt that budget.
to adopt the revised preliminary budget number that Councilman Galusha put forward at the last
I didn't
meeting.
say number, I said the revised proposed.
I'm just telling you
budget.
what is on the resolution that came from the clerk's office. So it was,
Okay, so we need to vote again, let's just vote.
I mean, that's up to you. It can stay as a preliminary budget if you want, or if you'd like to move it to the adopted budget, that's fine too.
You either way, the budget's gonna become the one that gets.
Would you, any discussion, would you like to move it to the adopted budget? No? Ed, you want to move it to the adopted budget? Joan, do you wanna move it to the adopted budget?
Of course.
Randy, do you wanna move it to the?
Let's
So
get it
now we
done.
need to have a resolution and a vote on moving it to the adopted budget. Would you like to propose a resolution to move this to an adopted budget for the 2021 adopted budget
I make a motion that we move the revised preliminary budget to the adopted budget
for 2021?
for 2021.
And Joan seconded it. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Councilman Galusha,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harris,
Yes.
Supervisor Shepler,
No.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Needham.
Abstain.
Abstain, you said?
Okay. It passed. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming out. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Doug seconded.
All in favor, aye.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Adjourn. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming out. Safe travels.
Why would I have you sign the preliminary budget on Friday? Idiot.
But not the one. I'm not surprised.
It'll be interesting what you use. Check all those. That's how we got the 390.
We haven't found yet?
That thing that she wrote out, that was so much, I mean, she just, smoking years, and just $100,000 difference between two rounds. If we given me $8,000, there wouldn't be a word to be said, but we're gonna say, I'm gonna stop it, I'm gonna, because you didn't accept my $8,000, I tell you, you know, this is,